is Wednesday. It's going to be a wicked Wednesday here on rawmike.richards.com. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto. Out of the Pacific Junction Hotel, 234 King Street East. Looking forward, protecting myself. John Gallagher. As some will know, Spike Gallagher in the day. A lot of people will hear that reference and go, Spike Gallagher, why do you call him Spike? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but one in particular, we'll talk about that as well. His brand new book. Yeah, the fact that he and I have a book in the same decade just tells you that literature has gone to shits. There's really no one left to write books if he and I are somewhere in like a Chapters or a library. Wrong, it's all wrong. I think it was a nice day for Maple Leaf fans, in particular, those that attended the game yesterday for the next century game. The Hurricanes just looked completely out of it. And we talked yesterday, would it be weird, depending on, they're not, they do play afternoon games. In junior, you grow up playing afternoon games. It's not like it's unheard of. But one team just simply didn't get out of bed. And Mitch Marner had a pretty nice day in front of the kids. I guess they kind of be his own age. And
his equals. His equals.
Mike Babcock.
His peers.
Made mention of that. And then there was a little kind of family dinner afterwards. So we'll take a look at that. Also, as I said, we'll maybe sneak ahead a little bit. Tomorrow will be our Pick-a-Palooza day.
Yes.
Tomorrow is our last day, the end of the year show. Oh, yeah. Have we done stuff when we're gone?
No.
Russell, have you done anything? Have you?
No.
No, he's done nothing. Great. That's great. Super. It's what you want. So we want team. 1, 2, 3, team. So we will take a look a little bit at what we might see in NFL playoffs. You know what? For once, because there's a lot of years, I got to be honest, when the garbage teams get in there, Dave, and the wild card and some of the, I'm like, okay, well, this is not going to be engaging. It's not going to be that interesting. This is going to be a little bit of a crazy ride, I think, in the NFL when you start talking playoffs because, what are you looking at when you talk about Philadelphia? Like, how good is Philadelphia with Nick Foles? Do you see a young team that's as good as what they have with the Rams and Jared Goff? But what happens if, let's say, a Drew Brees, a veteran Drew Brees, like if they have to play in Los Angeles, they're an indoor team, but playing outdoors in the sun for a guy who's already won a Super Bowl?
A little bit easier than a cold stadium, yeah.
Like exactly. If they have to go to Philadelphia, that can be trouble.
When you look at all the possibilities, I guess, in the conference, Philadelphia is going to be a tough outdoor team to face. And that's about it.
Yeah, because look, you're going through New England, and I don't think anyone gets through New England. You're going to it, but that's where your season dies. I don't see them losing again. Look, whoever they play in the Super Bowl, it's going to end up being, I think, one of the better Super Bowls because whatever that team that comes out of the NFC is going to be a good one.
I hope it's Minnesota. A home game in a Super Bowl for Minnesota.
That would be awesome. That truly would be awesome. And as you know, we kind of like Minnesota a little bit. It's kind of the adopted Canadian team for a lot of people. Think Bud Grant in the day.
That's right.
After coaching the CFL,
Blue Bombers' best coach.
Yeah, goes down. So there's a little bit of a thing there. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Really like how the Rams play. They're exciting. Who else do I not want to see? Depending who gets out on the AFC side, a Buffalo playoff game I have zero interest in. Zero.
Buffalo would be traveling too. Buffalo wouldn't be hosting, so that's the only good part.
Do we really trust Kansas City too? Do we trust the Chiefs at all?
Nope. The only teams I would look at in that conference, okay, you have New England. I actually think that Pittsburgh could be upset before they get to the conference final, in my opinion.
Well, that would be a big upset.
Yeah.
Who do you
like? For example, if Jacksonville travels,
hold it, Dave. Let's go to the NFL music.
Let's do it
and call it the 2017 NFL Playoff Picture by Dave Bastel. Where'd the music go now? Oh, look at this now in advertisements. Oh,
damn it, advertisers!
You're so shit. Why do I care about your thing? What is this? Canada's first biomedical engineering. We don't even know what that is.
Unless they're interested in sponsoring us, we don't care.
Yeah, University of New Brunswick. I'm sure that's tough to get into. And now Back to the show.
Okay, back to the show. In that American Football Conference, as nobody likes to relate it to,
Yes.
or refer it to either. New England, sure, I think you could almost punch a ticket, but I think the team that we have to watch out for that could make the most significant noise outside of New England are the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're going to be hosting their first playoff game in a gazillion years. I think it's over 10. And after they win that game, after they win that wild card game, because right now they'd be facing either Buffalo or Kansas City. I think they'd beat either one of those opponents depending on where everybody slots in the next 2 weeks. If they have to travel to Pittsburgh, I think they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. That's how good I think that defense is.
Yeah, and that's really what you're talking about, Dave. You're talking about a front four that is pretty significant. I mean, these guys can play ball, and they keep them in the game, and so Blake Bortles and that offense, they get just enough to kind of win. And really, if you're looking at that team and breaking it down with how good could they be, I mean, I guess Blake Bortles is going to try to prove that he is the starting quarterback and capable of winning playoff rounds. So this is it. This is it. This is going to be on his resume should he go forward. If he loses, then don't be surprised once again if Eli Manning gets a phone call and you see a change of quarterback in Jacksonville, because this is his moment.
Yep, this is his moment, and you know that the game plan is going to change a little bit in the cold. They do have a feature running back, but they actually do have two pretty good backups in Chris Ivory and T.Y. Yeldon, so don't be surprised if all three actually get significant work, and if they probably combine for over 35 carries, 40 carries in a game, and you take the ball out of Bortles' hands of trying to adjust to a tight end or a wide receiver or something like that. The defense wears down the offensive opponent. I'll go as far as saying this. I think Jacksonville's so good that they could go to New England and cover a number. Will they go to New England and win? No, I don't think they will, but I think they could go in there, and if I'm slotting that number right now, I'd probably make New England almost a touchdown favorite, maybe 6.5, 6 points. Jacksonville covers that number if everything goes exactly the way you want to slot it. If you're looking at a Jacksonville Jaguar,
I think that's right, Dave. The other thing too is you get New England into a situation where they just have to win. They're not pounding people. That's just really what they don't do. It's in their DNA. So you get a defensive game in there. Belichick's going to figure out how to just get by, and that's what's going to happen. So if that's a bigger number, if it goes over 5,
yep.
And trust me, I know people are going, make it go over 7. Make it go over 7. If it goes over 7, then I'm on them. But I don't think the Phil Gray or any of the lines makers in the world are going, let's let people win. Let's be fair about it. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff happening, I think, in the NFL playoffs. And I do like this time of year. I mean, you get Saturday games.
Yes.
Saturday NFL games, and you're looking at the Christmas tree, having a couple of cocktails. That's how it works. I love this time of year. It's awesome.
Pretty good Saturday night game, too, even though Aaron Rodgers isn't part of the scenario in the later game. Minnesota, Green Bay on Saturday night's pretty decent substitute if you're not interested in whatever's going on in the hockey realm and hockey world. The early game is kind of a dud. Indy travels to Baltimore. 13.5-point favorites are the Ravens, and this is one of Clark Judge's teams where he says, watch out for the Ravens.
Yeah, he likes the Ravens.
I'll cautiously say I don't know. The only reason I'd put the Ravens in that conversation is because if the Ravens are one of those wild card teams, which likely they will be, they'll be traveling to either Kansas City, where I actually don't mind their chances as at least a cover, or Jacksonville, and I don't like their chances in Jacksonville. So, they're not going to clinch that division because it's already been wrapped up by the Steelers, but could they make some noise against Kansas City? I think that's a favorable matchup, and I think it's two similar type teams, and I think that number is probably going to be under a field goal.
They still play pretty good defense, but there's some significant names that you're used to hearing that aren't on that team, so don't get confused by that. But, Flacco's, he's been in big games. He knows how to win them. I do like the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Joe Flacco. I don't think he's a spare. There's some guys that I think are, the resume looks inflated. You got your Andy Daltons in the world, and you're like, you just have no faith because I don't think they're going to do it. But Joe Flacco knows how to pull the trigger on that.
Super Bowl winner.
So I think that is a fair assessment. But if we're looking at true fun here, and I know Russell's waiting being the biggest Leaf fan with the world's biggest Leaf hat, Russell, the next century game, it was Leaf Day. So what do you do? Do you have an orgy, or like you and the guys get the jerkins out? Like what happened when you saw like 8-1? I mean, that's a lot of rubbing. That's a lot of oil, I think.
It was a pretty nice win. Pretty nice win. They
Hurricanes didn't even show up. Like
exactly.
No.
Thank you. That's the best way of saying it. The opposition decided to say, you know what? Take the Century game. It's okay. We don't need it.
Remember when you were a kid and they would change shifts by having the big horn go off?
Yep. Yes.
I thought
every 3 minutes.
Yeah, the Hurricanes probably showed up with their skate guards, like all dressed in their equipment, and their dads brought them. And boy, I'll tell you, because that was just horrible.
It was
great for Leafs. Great for the Leaf fans.
Do we have a still of that Fred Anderson save that you were calling the save of the decade or something, or whatever it was?
I said it was a very good save, yes.
No.
I said it was an incredible save.
An incredible save.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to just show the people it really quick. It was.
I got a feeling compliments not coming. Let's continue with the show. Let's back to the show live.
I'm just saying, because as soon as it happened, of course, I get all these memes sent to me about, oh, look at this Fred Anderson save. Now, if you saw the replay on Sportsnet, which of course that's the only place we watch for highlights, Fred Anderson is basically on his ass, out of position, probably interfered with by Justin Williams, correct? And he throws out his stick, so he has a stick in his right hand, throws down his stick along the ice. The stick is on the ice first. Then Skinner shoots the puck towards the net along the ice for some reason, and Anderson makes the save. Now that's the reality of the situation. Was it a opportune stick save? Yes. Was the stick just on the ice waiting for a puck to hit it? Yes. If Anderson reacts to the puck being shot and then puts the stick on the ice, that's where the incredible part comes in. Was this a nice save? Sure, it looked good. It was a hockey card pose, but man, Jeff Skinner has to raise this puck, and it's a goal. So that's why I sit there and say it's not as good as what it was advertised as.
He's a Markham boy. He should have had some family and friends there.
He probably had tons of family and friends.
I would think so.
And he catches it. He catches the puck at the end of the stick, right where the actual the goal stick bends for the actual flat part of it. So it's like it's a nice save, but man. Should have been a goal. There.
It was a good moment for a lot of the guys in the team, and for guys like Marner. What was that? 15 games? What was the drought? 15 games. He finally gets it on. I mean, I know a lot of people get their nuts in a knot over some of those numbers, but when a team is that young, Dave, when they've got the kinds of players that they do, looking towards the future, you're going to see some of this stuff. And Mike Babcock's not going to panic. I don't think he's a panicky guy.
I don't think he is either, but Babcock has to be happy that Marner was on the score sheet with his third goal of the season. Mike Babcock joins us now here on Raw. Mike Richards. Mike, coach, I should say. I know I can't call you Mike. I'm sorry. Mitch Marner with a pretty special night on a pretty good day.
Well, I think that if you're going to talk about the win yesterday, Dave, you got to talk about the whole group. I mean, Marnie had a good game, and I understand why. A lot of his schoolmates there, he's a young kid, and I'm sure at recess time, some of his buddies come out and seen him play, and so he gets all excited, and he puts the puck in the net, but that's what you do when you're a professional, Dave. That's what you do, and there's a lot of guys that went into that win yesterday. It just wasn't Marnie. It just wasn't Marnie, and I think the team, we've got young players, and they've got young players, and I think it'll come out in the wash.
When you look at Mitch Marner's resume and having drafted the kid out of
nursery school, I mean he's a young kid. I mean,
I was going to say London Knights.
I go up to him and say, "Baby, baby, baby, gonna cry, baby, because you can't score, baby." And so he took that the right way, and he plays the right way, and that's why he scored the goal yesterday.
Coach, was 3 o'clock tough for Mitch Marner back in the day?
Well, the 3 o'clock is if you can get him before bedtime's early. So we play some of those late games in the West Coast, and he's all crying, and he's looking for his blankie, and I'm like, "Oh, you baby." So I said, "Just shut up and just fucking play and stuff like that." And so he gets out. He's a pro, so that's what he done.
Fred Anderson save that we were debating a couple minutes before we grabbed you.
Freddie has really come into his own. He's in the zone, and I got to tell you, that's probably, I've had a lot of goalies A lot of goalies even go back to Lethbridge. I think they were called the Leghorns, the Foghorns, something like that. And,
Broncos.
And I think that's one of the best. That's one of the best saves I've ever seen. It might be the greatest save in the century.
Final question: how many kids does Patrick Marleau actually have?
I think he's got 17.
17.
Well, he's got the French name and they're Catholic, so they use the rhythm method. And by the looks of Patty, his rhythm's pretty good because he's gone into the end zone quite a few times, and they had the nice dinner. You see that, the dinner with the kids? No, yesterday it was nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. We're going to get to that in a second. Good luck in Columbus tonight. It's a back-to-back game against a pretty good Blue Jacket team, and your old friend John Tortorella.
He's a bit of a dick. He's disrespectful, and I'd like to kick him in the nuts. But aside from that, we'll keep it on the ice. We got good players.
Thank you so much. That's head coach Mike Babcock joining us at least once a week here on rawmikeridges.com, and that's the Maple Leafs in action on a back-to-back game. Had a little bit of a rest just because of that 2 o'clock start. They were in Columbus last night, and will play on Sportsnet at 7:30 this evening.
Here's something I think that's interesting. Jeter, we're going to jump right to Major League Baseball. We're expecting John Gallagher probably within 10 minutes. I don't know what that means in John's world. I don't know if he's in a dumpster. I don't know if he's on fire currently.
Could be.
I don't know if his clothes are dry, or if he can find clothes. I mean, it's really, we'll roll the dice on this one, but we think within around 10 minutes. But Derek Jeter does something really odd to me. I know that certain, in politics, and there's certain companies, and they have these town hall meetings.
Yes.
If it's me, Dave.
Not the smartest idea. Is that what you're thinking?
Never doing it. Don't have. Why are you doing this? I mean, looking at how shit that they have been. I mean, just the worst kind of baseball.
They pillage the team, and then they have
meeting. Hey, what do you guys think?
What do you think we think?
Yeah, I mean, apparently there was a woman crying. Gee, Carlos Stan, why would you? Ozuna or whatever.
Yeah, Marcell Ozuna is a St. Louis Cardinal. He's gone, and you know what? There's going to be more. D. Gordon's gone already. So, and we already know about Stanton and the New York Yankees. You don't have to remind Blue Jay fans here in this city about that. But you know what's really funny about that, though, Mike? I'm surprised that somebody in that town hall just didn't sit there and say, you know what? Why didn't Derek Jeter just field his diamond of ex-girlfriends?
Oh, that's outstanding.
Because
that is a good idea.
You know what? Maybe we should bring in our Blue Jay specialist, our Blue Jay broadcaster, Jerry Howarth, joins us on the program right now to talk about the Jeter Diamond, which, in my opinion, Mr. Howarth, maybe the best 9 ever produced on a field at one time.
Well, yes, sirree, and thanks so much, David. It's great to see you here today. I'm sure it's a great time for your 2 little ones. At Christmas time.
Absolutely,
the
Jerry.
Birth of the baby Jesus. Okay, getting to the opposite of that, let's go to Derek Jeter and his Diamond of Chicks. Starting at catcher, Minka Kelly. And if I had to think pitching or catching, I'm definitely going catching, and who wouldn't want to throw to that? Let's go to first base and the lovely brunette Jordana Brewster, and yum, yum, yummy, I like bummy. Now at second base, the stunning Latina Adriana Lima. Have you seen her in the Victoria's Secret?
I have, yes. Yep. You have too.
At short, Scarlett Johansson. She's got some good range, and she's very voluptuous. What a rack. On third base, Vanessa Manillo, and another Latino. Way to go, Derek Jeter. There's 2 for him. Then the crazy one in left field, Mariah Carey. I don't like her. Do you like big boobs?
They're okay, yeah.
Center field, Jessica Alba, and there you go. There's your triple play of Latinas. Oh, she is fantastic. She used to be in that show where she was she chasing vampires or something? She was the Dark Queen, or what do you call it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that
I used to record it.
On your VCR?
And finally, in right field, the stunning Jessica Biel. And look at that, Tyra Banks is your DH and the starting pitcher, Hannah Davis. So Florida, if you're looking for your starting lineup for your Florida Marlins, well, there she goes.
There she goes. Thank you, Mr. Howarth. Merry Christmas to you. It almost sounds like a former program director I worked with back in the day. But nonetheless, Jerry Howarth joining us in the middle of December, the week of Christmas.
I still take a look at the names that the Jerry just said. He had all of those?
Yep. And I'm guessing those
they got the gift bags, right?
Yeah, those are the gift bags. Those are the give bags, yes. And you know what? Those are the ones we know about. But you have to think.
That's the top of the iceberg, really.
Yeah.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
as they
because
say.
you have to
I didn't
think-
want to say tip, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. And you have to think there were others of that quality, but just not of popularity. I'm thinking he may have been.
Well, he
able
might have gone.
to-
He might have done a Tiger and gone Denny's a couple of times.
That's true.
'Cause
Almost have a team in every city.
Well, I'm sure he does. But come on.
Here's my Colorado team.
Minka
and here's
Kelly
my
and-
Houston team.
Okay, Alba and Beal.
Yes.
And Vanessa Manillo, Adriana Lima. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And
Was
honestly,
there Madonna in there or something
and
at some point?
And in my opinion, and I do know what a good-looking guy looks like, Jimmy Garoppolo. Derek Jeter.
Jimmy Garoppolo is everything to Dave.
Derek Jeter, not that good looking.
No, it's
you
like
know,
there are
the
guys
hair sucks.
who
the
walk
hair's
out.
terrible.
Yeah, no, that's really bad. I always
You know
felt,
what I mean?
I
Like-
feel bad for him. He was on Saturday Night Live, and I saw the.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I know.
wow.
I'm
Too bad for him.
Yeah.
What am I saying? Living in my parents' basement. Too bad for him. Here, come on, Vanessa. Come on. Okay, sorry. I can't believe how excited I would be.
I'm just saying, Derek Jeter not only overrated on the field, but overrated in looks.
If you're one of the other players, though, and he is who he is in
Alex
New York,
Rodriguez
yeah.
was much better looking.
Yeah, way
than
better,
Derek
way
Jeter.
better,
Yeah.
way better.
Why am I talking about good looking?
I don't know. I don't know. But if I was on the team, I'd be mad. That's how I am. I would be mad. So he'd say, "Hey, Mike, great game out there. Here's Jessica Biel." Fuck you! I'd be all mad. And I go, you go into a 7-Eleven. Oh, Mr. Richards, that was a great game you played today. All right, what are you doing after?
Oh, Marge.
Marge, Shot, how you doing? How'd you like
Marge.
rub Mama's feet? Oh yeah, people actually responded to that yesterday, and there was a huge response to our clip of the illegal
Hit, yes.
or legal hit. I don't know. Do we have that still hanging around? Because we can actually play a little bit of the sound. I thought that was interesting. So that was yesterday. Did a little bit of a poll on whether you felt that a hit from 1989. This was from the Hall of Fame Bowl. It was between Auburn and Ohio State, and so horribly floated. You can't even call it a screen pass. I don't know what you call it, but it was a suicide pass. I think if you're
Big time suicide pass.
and we wanted to know if the game was played tomorrow. If the game's played tomorrow, do you think this is a legal or illegal hit? I could be honest. It was about 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be more, quite frankly, on that it was a legal hit. But a lot of Americans jumped in, and this is what you're seeing in the NFL, Dave. This is why everything takes 2 hours, and this kind of now this would be more open and easier to tell. But the catch no catch, the touchback rule on the offensive side when it hits the pylon on a fumble, those kinds of things. But what's your take? I'm just curious. This is what we played yesterday from 1989 Hall of Fame Bowl, Ohio State Auburn. Is this an okay hit or an illegal hit if the game was played tomorrow?
Cooper was afraid they'd be overmatched, and he wanted to keep his offense up for a sustained drive to keep his defense off. Slack, out ball, and there is the biggest hit maybe of the 1989-90 bowl season. Danley down as he was struck by Zach Dumas.
Zach Dumas, a fellow that came to this university as a running back and said, I don't like to get hit. What I like to do is hit people. And he put a knockout blow on Danley that time.
Hardest tackle I've seen in years.
You see this ball now, he's going to get hit just about the time that ball hits his hands. Dumas just unloads on him.
So what do you think?
So Ohio State, Zach.
There you go. Is that a legal or illegal hit? Dave said legal. I said legal, and I think legal won by a little bit, but not by much. Mm-hmm. Not by much. And I just briefly talked about the. Oh, that clicked off. It wasn't supposed to click off. All right, I'll play music that isn't fitting at all, just because. How is this going to fit into what I was just going to talk about? We have something called Last Call, sponsored by our good friends in Calgary, Rocky Cross Construction North, RCCN. That is Al and his family, our good friend Ryan Thelwell.
Yes.
That's how you want to do it. My good friend, black guy, football. Yeah, Henry Burris. No, not Henry. Ryan Powell.
Yes.
We have something called Last Call. So I'm going to start with Last Call, basically, and the premise is who's on the line for, baby, this is your last call. And I'll tell you right now, I talked to a bunch of people yesterday. Some of them actually said because of the craziness of the officiating and more or less the rules, the way that football is played now, that they don't watch it as much anymore. They occasionally gamble on it, but it's hard to watch a game that's so slowed down. So really, to me, the last call is actually on the NFL competition committee. Start thinking about real football and the flow of the game. You talk to an offensive coordinator. He wants to talk about the kind of rhythm that you can get into. But Dave, if there's a flag every second or third play, you're looking at a time in football now that when there is a pass, what is the first thing you do when it's incomplete or complete? The announcer says,
Look around for the flag.
Where's the flag? No flag on the play. It's been built into us, and it's got to go away somehow. I know you can't get a replay, and I wouldn't want to because they do at times in certain circumstances and criteria get that call right. But if you're the competition committee, you got to get rid of that touchback rule when the ball is fumbled by the offensive team going into an end zone, whether a receiver or a runner, it hits the pylon, that can't be a touchback. The defense, in my mind, in football, has to do something that rewards them for getting the ball back. In this case, it's nothing. And the catch-no-catch rule, that's not that hard to figure out because the disaster that was Pittsburgh, and by the way, the right call, wrong rule, change the rule for you, NFL committee, competition committee, your last call.
My last call, the Buffalo Sabres, 8 regulation wins in 34 games. We talk about how crappy the Ottawa Senators are. Well, guess what? The Buffalo Sabres have won up to by winning 8 games in the first 34. Yesterday, they crapped the bet against the Boston Bruins and a backup goalie. Do not even score a goal. What is happening to the Sabres? This was once a proud hockey market, and now they're not showing up, and there's a lot of young players not really pulling their way. I'm disappointed beyond belief because it is a lot more fun in this city of Toronto when the Buffalo Sabres are competitive because Buffalo-Toronto matchups are my favorite matchups of all matchups that the Maple Leafs are part of, and I know everybody sits there and goes, oh, I love the Canadian games, and I like the Senator games. No. There's nothing better than going to Buffalo and watching the Maple Leafs kick their ass, and it just simply isn't a competition anymore. That's my last call.
Their last call. Once again brought to you by RCCN in Calgary. For your construction needs, go see our buddies because you're never going to get a better deal and you're never going to get better work. Okay, so it is 10:30, and as we said, the man, he is here.
He's on time, too.
Bang on time. He is filled full of surprises and stuff, and it's going to come out in the next couple of minutes. Here is going back, and I remember the day, actually, that he showed me this reel that he'd made, and we'll talk to John on the other side. But I believe he was being interviewed, and I think I got this right, in New York, because I thought for sure, considering what John was doing in the city on that time, that no one was really doing in North America, that if he's getting interviewed by New York, whatever station that was, whatever network it was, that John wasn't coming back. I was actually surprised that he stayed in Toronto. I thought for sure he was gone because he has always been that good. Here's what it looked like, but when you come back, we talk to my good friend John Gallagher.
Enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? I'm easy. Hey, I love you, man. Some people just don't get what's like to be a Blue Jay fan.
Now that was mature, wasn't it?
You had 50-goal weekends. It's the all-hit 50-goal weekend. What's that all about? That's kind of funny.
From St. Helens Catholic School, John Gallagher, City Paul.
If they don't win tomorrow, I'll guarantee you no one's going to show up for the next game. I mean, this team needs help, man. This team is absolutely in big trouble. All right, I take that back.
I think things would be fine if you had John Gallagher on your team. John Gallagher, me! What are you, new?
Right to sports now. We're going to call on our old Twilight Zone Bill Shatner thing. There is something wrong with the wings, Johnny. Exactly. Something wrong with the wings. Something. Mike said it was an off night for the Wings tonight because when you watch the highlights in their second game with Colorado, you'll notice something. It was an off night. There was no Fedorov, Kozlov, Konstantinov, Fetisov, not even Larionov or his pals Moov and Kurlyov. Not one off, not one Russian showed up. Hence the off night.
What a night at the Gardens. Gallagher's there.
Wow, Gord, it is happy time, and this is the Fun House. It's Maple Leaf Gardens. Take a look. Cliff Fletcher has tried to silence his critics with the acquisition of Wendell Clark and, of course, Matthew Schneider from the Islanders. They make their debut in blue and white tonight against the Dallas Stars, and there he is. The man that people are paying the big bucks to see. 5'11", 200 pounds of twisted steel, wearing his familiar blue trunks with a white stripe. It's Wendell Clark. Good night last night. 128 points. We were scrambling for the record books at Skydome. 128! That was a good weekend's worth for the Raptors earlier this season. Several records fell, but most importantly, so did the Dallas Mavericks. They went down. What a nice. Raptors had their most amount of points at the half with 64. 96 after 3, 128 of the night. Came as Stoudemire bombs away.
Oh, there it is. And as they say, that's how it's done. That's how it's done.
Right there.
Okay, let's get rid of. Now, what is that sound coming from?
Isn't that cute?
Oh, my God.
Okay, let's go.
That's the sound of the people in New York not calling me.
Okay, so let. Oh, I just.
You know what? While Mike's figuring that, what happened with the New York opportunity? Because they were obviously interested in you. You sent them a nice tape and take the story away.
Well, you know what? They do that. They'd come in and
Yeah.
I was up in Washington. They'd wine and dine you in stations out in San Francisco, and you'd leave on a Friday night or a Sunday night after being wine and dined, and because I was doing Q107 in the morning and City TV at night, they couldn't match those numbers.
And you did a split too, didn't you? Didn't you?
Yeah.
That was it.
And then they kind of weaned us out. Every morning co-host in sports was doing split shifts. It was insane. So then I was doing Q in the morning and City at night, and the money was ridiculous. And then we do those paying gigs, where you do $1,000 a night at the Barracuda or a bar in
I never got that.
You did so.
I did shit. In the day, I was terrible. They gave me no money.
In Calgary, didn't you do some golfing?
Then
cash,
yes,
right.
But in Toronto in the day when I first started, they wouldn't let me in the Barracuda. I mean, I had to pay extra for the drinks. I mean,
then one day
I never got a dinner. That I mean, going to I think it was you and Steve Anthony that house.
Mm-hmm. The house of ill repute.
Yeah.
With all the stories.
Yeah.
I come down one day, and Steve is doing the mummy and daddy dance with Mitsu. So Mitsu's
Mitsu. Mole Cowboy.
Yeah. Mitsu's naked. She walks into my bedroom while I'm sleeping, steals my Montreal Canadian robe. So I go down. She's sitting at the table with a Habs robe on, smoking a cigarette, Mitsu, in front of a plate of cold poutine. I mean, if you took a shot of that, it's the new billboard for Come to Quebec 2018, right there.
That's fantastic. Brought to you by Don't Let This Way, Quebec. I knew it's something like that. It's something like that. John Gallagher, my good friend, who, boy, I'll tell you, it was probably back in the late 80s when we first meet. Mm-hmm. And at that time, so there's no cell phones, there's no internet, there's no all kinds of things that people have the access to now. And so I wasn't necessarily familiar with Chris Berman or any of those kinds of things. I would go on record saying, I just said it a while ago, that you were doing the kinds of things that are attributed to a Chris Berman. You were doing them before Berman was doing them. This is why I never thought you'd stay in Toronto. Because no one really did it and still do it like you did. Mm-hmm. And I thought, if I had to bet, and now I am a betting man.
Quite a bit.
I would have thought that, John, there's no way that you would have stayed. I'm surprised that you never were in the States at some point. Because no one does it like you.
Thank you for that. It was a little ahead of the time, We made sports fun. It was, and working at City TV and Q107, you had to push the envelope. You had to have that edge with a wonderful sense of humor. Yeah. I was on this morning. I mean, we call the sports department the candy department. Yeah. I mean, it's especially at City, surrounding yourself with Jim McKinney, with his dry, wet, and Catherine Humphreys. Now she got some offers from New York. I'd be sitting there, and she'd listen to this. Hey, it's Don Ohlmeyer from NBC. We'd like you to come down for the weekend and check out the
No, she'd get offers from CBS,
and
NBC.
but she never went either.
No, she was quite happy here. You know, she had Craig Billington. She was, with him. And
that's a couple of husbands ago, I think.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to her the other night.
She's fantastic, by the way.
Isn't she wonderful?
Yeah. I mean,
just adore her.
You know, when people say, well, what, because we grew up and started working in an era where if there was a female on a broadcast anywhere, it was token. And they were going to be terrible, quite frankly, because they were making a mandate that you had to have a female on the show. So very often when you'd hear it, I go, oh, good. A girl.
How times have changed.
Well, except the moment I saw Catherine, I said, oh, my God, she is just solid. She's good in every aspect. Yeah. You want a co-host for any kind of show, any kind of format, I'm picking her.
Yeah, and her father owned the Oshawa Generals. I mean, she was...
Oh, is that the story?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He was a judge and dating hockey players left and right. Better than, of course, drummers for the Tragically Hip.
Yeah, true.
Oh, boy. More importantly, how are you guys?
Oh, it's funny when people said, and I said a moments ago, so you and I have written a book within like a year of each other. And I said, so you're telling me that the literary community is really proud of these two clowns. They're now authors? Sure they are.
You couldn't give a fiddler's you-know-what about your book. You didn't promote it.
No.
The publishing company never talked to you. They kind of ghost wrote it for you.
But there was a couple of things that were inserted that I wasn't aware of. And so I do what a lot of Irish people do. I fucking lost it. So I called up and I said what I had to say to everybody in that company.
Thank you.
The book agent calls a very quiet-spoken guy, Brian Woods, who doesn't speak to me anymore. And my book agent said, hey, Mike, I just have to ask you a question. Sure. Did you threaten to go down to the publishing house and beat them all up with a baseball bat?
Nice.
Yeah, I did. They don't like that. I don't know why I'm sounding like John Daw. All of a sudden I sound like John Daw. But that's kind of what happened. So they didn't really push the book the way that I was happy with it. I thought it was good, but
Richards takes his
Oh, yeah.
Louisville Slugger and bats 1,000 on their heads. But they're dead.
I'll tell you how good your book's doing. So I think, you know what? I got to support John. I got to at least read the book. I mean, who knows what's in there?
Yeah.
So
You're in there.
I looked in the of the GTA. How many books available?
We'll get to
how many books available?
I saw that.
Zero.
Even
Zero.
At my favorite bookstores at Young and Egg.
Gone.
Yeah.
So this is what I believe in the business they call traction, John.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's good. It's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, with people like you and Dave, I mean, getting me on. I was on, with Derringer and Maureen Holloway on CHFI. I mean,
you went on CHFI?
Yes.
How was that?
It was fantastic.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you just saying that?
The truth.
Well, I mean, there's a story about Aaron Davis in the book, which is a little surprising that Mo would wave me in. And
because here's the thing. We're kind of free-flowing guys. Is that what maybe I'll put it? Yeah. So we kind of been around. We've done some things. We've been in jail. We've had to talk to
I've
lawyers.
never been in jail.
Okay, well, you haven't. And so...
You've been in jail.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't make your last book. I read your book, by the way.
That was the little rants, and the second book will be more.
Oh, there's another one in the offing.
Well, this is what I like to think. This is what I like to think.
Get a new publisher, mind you.
But the first thing people think of is, oh Christ, Gallagher might have a ton of shit on me. I don't know if he should be writing a book,
right?
Because everybody. Everybody knows you, and therefore there's that moment where I think, what exactly do you write if you have that much stuff? Now, I know you, so I wouldn't even think if you're anybody, I'm not worried about anything. Right. That of course, we talk about it on the air, so we've made a living out of it. But are some people nervous? They go, hey, dude, did Brother Jake come up and say, what do you, Spike?
Got to tell you.
What are you saying? What are you saying about me?
I love the brother. People have asked me, are you worried about lawsuits? And I'm like, well, I'll just wait until that little envelope comes. You know, the one that opens at the end that looks like it's a subpoena? I'll wait for that. But you know what? I mean, everything, it all happened. I mean, I'm not making anything up. I mean, I may lose a couple of friends and some contacts in the business, but hey, you know what? And the expression goes, I have no more fucks to give, basically, you know? I mean, if I take one more PD and one more sports director and one more station manager out for lunch, I'll be broke, you know? I don't, it's just, when they're killing off sportscasters.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Tilly and Lance Brown. Oh, yeah, Lance Brown.
Well, thanks, Bell. Thanks for eliminating the jobs eating your own, because that's what they've done.
No such thing as the small market anymore either.
That's right.
Yeah, so how do you start? How do you start
that? GSN Radio, sure, yeah. Or we're allowed to mention that on the air?
We can
Yeah,
do
we
whatever
can
you
do
want.
anything we want.
I say a lot worse than that. But here's a company that prides itself on with good citizens or whatever it is, and across the country they have eliminated all the local sports.
How
And I'm
about
thinking that would have affected him, and that would have affected you back in Halifax in the day.
Absolutely. Oh, man. At least we got 30 years in.
Is
you
that
know?
when it started? Halifax, is that the smallest market? That's
I
not that
worked in-
small. That's not that small.
Yeah, no, I
was
worked
in Saskatoon.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everyone comes out from the west. It's all from the east and the west. No one really comes from. Well,
No.
you're from Toronto.
I'm from
originally,
here,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. But I started in that hotbed of romance and intrigue, St. John, New Brunswick,
Oh, okay,
the town that fun forgot.
I thought that was Ottawa.
I know, I stole it. Peter Worthington called it the town that fun forgot. I was on Ottawa today with Bill Carroll.
Oh, yeah.
My God!
Yeah.
This morning at stupid o'clock in the morning. And then but isn't that the strangest thing? I mean, our sportscast in the morning radio used to be 4.5 minutes long, plus a commentary. You know, and now it's the Canucks lose to the Canadians, Leafs win 8-1, and Jose Bautista signs with Washington. Oilers next.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
And think about it. Foster Hewitt Award, which I don't know how many people have them. 8. I don't know. There's not that many. You have one.
He has got one right
and I would say a lot of that is based on your writing during those commentaries. That's what made you. No one articulated that way where they take pop culture and jam it with the sports, and out comes this stuff, and it was like this. And I'm thinking nobody did that, and to me, it was really quite remarkable what you were able to do on a rock station. And quite frankly, it's never been the same since. It's not the same
You and I and Derringer almost worked together, but
yeah.
I had a contract for 6 figures to join you with the Fan and Derringer. We could still be on the air today.
Yeah, we would. Wow.
Yeah.
You know?
Imagine that
Oh,
three. Oh, my God. I bet John wouldn't be married. I bet that wouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's survived it, and he's living as far away from us as possible.
I know. I was in his house in King City. I mean, that is way deep. And the thing with you and I, and and I write this in the book, we're and it's not just Derringer, but sportscasters and anchors and TV types, they go home and with their beautiful wives and kids, to Caledon and Oakville. I get out of off the air at City TV at 299 Queen Street East, or West, right there at Queen and John.
Yep.
I'm thinking, what kind of trouble am I going to get into tonight in the entertainment district? And we went out, we did it, man.
It was
we
great.
walked the walk, baby, and we have tales to tell, and it's all in the book.
Okay, here's one of my funny moments. The one that I can easily tell because it's not that offensive. So it was in that time where I think you're not up on in the North York part. You're still with Steve Anthony, and you're doing the split shift, and so you had to go on. We met at what was the Rhino,
Sure.
the made their own beer, Amsterdam.
That's right.
Like in that area somewhere.
Indeed.
And so he would go in. He's talking, so I go in to see him. It's in between, so he's done the dinner, and here comes the 11 o'clock. So he's in there, and he's surrounded by these girls who are all in awe of his fakeness. And so
His fakeness?
Yes. And so he's I'm sitting there going, oh my God, does he have the energy for this? He got up at the same time I did. He got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He's going on, and he goes, by the way, he said, when I do this at the end of the newscast, that's for you.
Did I really say that? Oh my God!
He did it to 27,000 girls. So if you're one of those 27 going, you mean the wink wasn't for me? You
That's right.
and 26,999 of your best friends.
Well, you know what? And all you needed was you're that guy you're that idiot who does the sports. That's all you need. And all of a sudden, it's back to the Chateau de Chardonnay, with some candles and some wine, and all of a sudden giggling ensues, and the hair goes back, and you're so funny, and then humana. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
You're that idiot who does the sports. Yes. You want to go home to my place?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Harvey Weinstein.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And
It was all consensual. It wasn't like Harvey in his robe.
Okay, think about this. All the crazy shit that's going on, and whether you're a producer, a big star. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, in our day, we're running around, we're seeing girls going, sure, I'll go home. That's a lovely impression of a woman, by the way. But I never went up and said, hey, you, pants down.
I know.
Let's do this thing.
Oh, my goodness.
Or the Louis C.K. thing. That one I don't get.
I know.
And you look at me. Look at me.
Yeah.
You know.
And Jon Stewart was on the other day. He said, we knew all about it. We could have done more to stop Louis C.K. And now his career is basically ruined,
So they people said this is open knowledge, the Louis C.K.
Yeah,
Louis
and
C.K.
it was with Harvey Weinstein, too. I mean, he came on to Gwyneth Paltrow, and Brad Pitt, who wasn't a star at that time, went up to Harvey and, poked him right in the chest. You stay away from my woman. That could have ruined him.
Yeah,
but then,
easily.
my goodness, the Kevin Spaceys and the Dustin Hoffman. Did you read all about that?
And there's more to come, too.
There's
right?
a lot more to
Every
come.
day.
Yeah, I hear, and now they're pointing fingers at Gene Simmons. I'm like, wow, what a shocker, right?
Gene Simmons. He'll get out of it.
Yeah,
He'll get out.
He's a smart guy. Yeah, yeah.
So if people want to know, so Big League Babylon, how's it been out? 3 weeks? Been out 3 weeks? Or?
Came out November. Yeah, end of November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would suggest if you want the book, go into the store. You may have to order it because it's sold out. So you're going to have to find this thing. If you want it for Christmas, you go to the internet first, check out the location, see if the book's there. But in this book, because people are always going to want to know because they think they know you. Because you were on TV and radio every day, sometimes almost 4 times a day, they could probably catch you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Q in the morning, 6 o'clock news at City, and then CP24 doing bits, and then the 11 o'clock sports.
Because
yeah.
you're
the
on,
ubiquitous sportscaster without portfolio.
You were everywhere.
All of us.
And people want to know, like, why the changes. Like, you went from that, then eventually there was the TSN show.
Mm-hmm. TSN show, the Gallagher show.
The Gallagher show.
More than Magic Johnson, less than Johnny Carson, somewhere in the middle there.
Fair.
Yes, but here's the thing that people don't...
Steve Martin's.
Yeah, Chevy Chase.
Yes.
What a mutt.
But in comparison, and I can tell you, I know this is true, those ratings weren't bad at all.
No.
They were actually pretty good.
No, there were people in the media, I think their names rhyme with William Houston and Chris Selkovich, who just hated me. Just absolutely hated,
Well, William Houston
Oh,
hates
my-
soup. I mean, the guy's an asshole. I mean, he's yeah.
I could see them getting up in the morning and just like hissing at the, at the sun, and they just didn't get it. They were so used to spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety. The Kurt Gowdies and the Jim McKays. They didn't get my show at all. So, and the ratings were good.
They were good.
And Keith Pelly, I mean,
I
a
know they were
brilliant
good,
guy. My goodness.
Do you miss that part? Like, what do you miss the most? Because I mean, there's not a time you come in, you sit down, the studio goes on fire, everyone's hearing the laughs, all the energy, and people are like, where is that now? Because I don't hear that now.
Yeah,
I don't hear that on shows.
And I was at Zoomer Radio for 9 years. Moses Neimer hired me for the third time. It's like Ali winning the heavyweight championship 3 times, right? And I thought I was going to retire there. I mean, they played, Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and the Guess Who and I was fired the same day as Denise Donlin and Conrad Black. Okay, and both the Troika and both program directors and both music directors. They just had to cut costs. So my goodness, it's the part of the business now. It's just they're not hiring. They're just firing.
Yeah, well, a lot of it too.
Yeah.
When you're putting together this book, how long does it take you to sit down and figure out what you're putting into it, what you're not putting into it? Is there anything you didn't put into it or reluctant to, and getting it together? Because I remember, like, we've been friends for about 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Every single day he'd mention how grueling it was to actually figuring out what the hell to put in this book.
Right.
Yours is a lot of stories and personal stuff too. So how long does this take you, and when did you actually start the project?
Yeah, it was probably about a year and a half ago, and I didn't know how many words I had. They wanted 75,000. I said, I don't know if I have 25 or 125. I had 150,000 words. So they were cutting and snipping and
150,000.
Yeah, I got another book, and I haven't even started.
You're writing about Moses? How do you have that many?
Just great stories, and I'm a pack rat, so I keep everything, all the commentaries that I did.
That helps.
And the photos in there with me and Brad Pitt and David Bowie and
okay, let's
Stevie
talk
Nicks.
about that because I also made another claim on your behalf.
Sure.
Before there actually were selfies.
That's right.
I think you invented the selfie because I've not been in a place where I'm going back into the late 80s. You remember we were down in L.A.
Sure.
We were down in L.A.
Yes.
I was with John MacArthur, and
That's right.
and we hook up. We go to the Stilts place out there in Santa Monica.
Wonderful. Right at the end of
Santa Monica.
That's right.
Right there.
Yeah.
And what was it? What's his name? The bad boy
Judd
from
Nelson.
Judd Nelson.
That's
From,
right.
Breakfast Club.
That's right.
It's excuse me, I got to go over there.
Dismissed.
And you go on, I was like, Judd, how you doing? Hey, here we go, baby. But They were like Polaroids or something.
Well, no, it was those stupid little $19 Fiji green cameras with the 24 exposures. And I'd keep one in my glove compartment. I'd keep one, because you're at Much Music and Q, you know.
There's somebody coming in there every single day. Yeah.
I'm at the urinal one time at Q or at City TV. I'm like, oh, hello. It's the Glitter Twins, you know, Steve Perry and Joe Perry and Steve Tyler.
Yeah.
You know, it's just everyone was walking around. It was crazy. You know, Annie Lennox shot with again Bowie and people like that.
Because people also have to understand too your understanding and depth in music. Because that's a big part of who you are. If people don't realize that,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of things, and when you mention names like Bowie, when they pass away, I know damn well on Facebook, where we're friends, that there is going to be not only a story, but there's probably going to be a picture, because those people meant something to you. I mean, the one thing about Q107 in that time, where Q107 was to me the real Q,
right? Yeah,
people like that were really kind of, I mean, you had a Hall of Fame staff anyway. I mean, from top to bottom.
It was like the 27 Yankees, the 77 Habs. It was just
ridiculous,
stupid talent.
Yeah, ridiculous. And these people would come in, and I think, the one thing people may not know is that you have a real love of music and the people who create it.
Yeah, and again, the 4,000 CDs. Just you've been to my house.
Oh, I've seen
just
the
a
CDs.
wall of CDs, and I still play CDs, which is the stupidest thing.
He wishes
you can
they were,
download those, John. Now you know.
He wishes they were in the wall. I've seen them they've seen them in places CDs should not be. Just so you know.
I knew something was wrong. I couldn't sleep the night that David Bowie passed. And I got up and I'm looking at my phone and just because he just released an album and he was on his way maybe another world tour. But I was at the Sky Dome one time with Lloyd Robertson watching a baseball game, and he was wearing a one-piece safari suit. I don't know why. Don't ask. Anyway, this limousine driver comes, drops some people off. He goes, Gallagher, come here. Big Bowie fan. I said, oh, my hero, all-time hero. Guess who I just dropped off at some bar downtown? David Bowie. Want to go meet him? I'm like, ah. So and he's the funniest guy in the room. He's just got everyone around him, and he takes a cigarette out. I lean in to light the smoke, and he's the coolest smoker I've ever seen since French actor Jean-Paul Belmondo. Right? And I'm thinking this is the greatest thing since when Howard Cosell leaned in and lit my cigar before Pat Marsden threw up in his shoes. I mean, it's all in the
These are
book.
stories you don't get everywhere, folks. You really don't. That's why you got to buy the book. Find the book, buy the book. Now, of all those crazy moments, because you had talked about, because we played a moment from, I know, it was the Habs power play. It was a ridiculous power play.
Saw that. I love that.
And so you said, no, you
Big fan of the show, by the way. The thing with Gump Worsley yesterday, I almost fell off my chair. Oh my goodness.
Foster, yes. But you said you've got Danny Gallivan stories?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's got Danny Gallivan stories.
I'm 12 years old, and back at the Montreal Forum, you can get seats up near the press box, right? So one time between periods, I walk up to Brian McFarlane and Dick Irvin. I want to do what you do one day. Hello, kid, come on in. Try the headset on, put on the blue jacket. I'm like, this is great. Danny's coming back from his smoke. You better go. So,
Dick Irvin and the whole
Dick Irvin, my goodness, I spent like 4 or 5 hours talking with Danny Gallivan one time. There are some really good stories in there. Yeah.
Was there any guy that you've ever been disappointed in that you were looking forward to and it just didn't get
athlete or media?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Dave Van Horn at the Montreal Expos, my hero growing up because I basically lived at Jerry Park, and when I met him, he was just I met Marv Albert once. I was at the Madison Square Garden, and he shook my hand like this. Like it was a wet salmon. It was just before, of course, he had the,
Bad impression.
Yeah, I know. It was
like,
like,
first thing
and it was creepy, and then you'd hear about, him
Well,
dressing up in women's clothing.
Let me tell you something. There's a reason I go in softly for 3. Yes.
Julio Cesar Chavez.
May I light your cigar with my mouth? Yes.
I know. My fax machine isn't working. Can you come up and bite me in the back? Oh, my God.
Yeah, the backbiting I never got.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to dress like a woman, spank yourself, whatever it is, put a diaper on your head. But the backbiting, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah. As far as players are concerned, I always had this real hard on for Dwayne Ward. He kept me waiting for hours one time just to do an interview with him. He says, no talking about my right arm, okay? Just don't. All right? Don't you can't talk about my arm. I'm like, just what should we talk about? We'll talk about while we're here today for Easter seals or something. I said, okay. At the end of it, I go, what do you say to the fans? about your problem. What problem? And then he goes, this interview is over. Like, oh yeah, fine, walk away. And just the F-bombs were, and of course we ran with it that night. And then Cito Gaston once said to me, this is a true story. I'm wearing this wonderful top that I just got, and he goes, this is during the time you can say these things.
Sure.
Hey, and he was suspended for bumping an umpire, so he just had to go to Skydome, get in his uniform, and then get the hell out before 5 o'clock. He goes, Gallagher, where'd you get that faggoty shirt?
Yeah. Now you've been. That's an atrocity.
That's right.
You could sue the Blue Jays.
And guess what I said to him? Your wife gave it to me.
Oh, yeah.
And then a chill filled the room, right? And he says, you know what the dozens are? It's a code in baseball. You doesn't talk about how much money you make. You doesn't talk about girls you're dating or your wife, and you doesn't talk about your car, and you just don't bring that stuff up. I'm like, well, you started it, and then he was not happy.
But see, you're a huge baseball guy. I mean, it's your favorite sport.
Yeah,
it's your favorite sport.
Robbie Alomar and I used to go out a lot. Is that
in the book?
It's in the book.
Okay.
We're at Alice Fazzuli's because,
that was great in the day.
Bar.
Oh, it was great.
And as you do before a sportscast, you want to have a couple of cocktails, just get warmed up.
Yes.
As we do.
That's why we're in a bar.
You are in a bar. I'm trying to find this place this morning.
Kids at Ryerson, Seneca, listen to what he's saying.
So Robbie's there, and I'm like, why don't you come on to do the sports with me at City TV? He goes, sure, young. Catch the taste. I'll be over in a... And instead, you can hit Alice Fazzuli's with a snowball from City TV, but he gets his entourage, right, and in a limo, and drives the 30 seconds to City TV. And when he walks in, the place goes crazy because he's won back-to-back World Series. He's the most popular person in the city.
Easily.
You get him made up, and at the end of the sportscast, I lean over, thanks for doing this. No problem, young. And I kissed him right on the cheek, and I could just see the global CBC CFTO news directors and producers going, Gallagher's got Robbie Alomar on the air. Damn it. And he kissed him. And then Robbie.
Is that when he was living at the
Skydome?
Those they were like two suites put together.
I was there. He had a jungle room with leopard skin wallpaper.
Was he Elvis?
I know. And if those walls could talk, it would be meow. Yeah. We chased skirt all around spring training. Chase skirt. Yeah, hey, gotta get those dames, eh?
I tried to find that picture of us at the fan Christmas party.
Sure.
You, me, Derringer,
Jerry
Howarth, and Bob Durant's in
That's
that picture.
Right.
Bob Durant's in that
I
picture.
have that shot.
And so what I did is so they gave us this one room that was on the outside of the Sky Dome, and they looked at it and they said, "Oh, it's pretty good. You got half of Robbie's suite." And I went, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And in my head, it was such a God, I don't know where my head was. I kept thinking, wow, why would Robbie Robertson? That's pretty cool, Robbie Robertson. Why is Robbie Robertson the thing for me?
Right.
And as I'm sitting down, I'm on the phone. I said on the can, I'm like, yes, I'd like a bottle of your finest. Well, not your finest, but a pretty good, And I said, I'm in the Robbie suite. She goes, oh, you're in a Robbie Alomar suite? I went, Robbie Alomar?
Oh, my.
I'm sitting on the can. Ow. Shower.
Oh, my God. I know.
Boil me.
Careful.
One spring training, I'm down there, right? And I usually show up before the pitchers and catchers show up. So Robbie's there early. As he,
Gamer.
Yeah. You got to get there early to get the convertibles before, the CFTO guys come down, right?
He's there in December.
So Robbie goes, I got some news for you, man. I got engaged over the holidays, right? He goes, that's great. It's the first, the players aren't even there yet. It's just Robbie and I and a bunch of people. And I go, this is great. So we announced it on the air. We put it on City TV. And then the next day he goes, what did you say? I said, well, you said you got engaged. He goes, I got like 12 women calling me from Toronto. You've ruined me. You've ruined me in Toronto. I'm like, you said it. I didn't say it. You said you got engaged. I said, congratulations. Did you notice the camera rolling? So our relationship kind of cooled after that, but he was something else.
Do you have aside from the Habs, if we're talking Blue Jays, do you have a favorite team, an era, a team that you go, I loved covering that team?
Yeah.
They didn't have to necessarily win either. I'm just saying the group of guys that you like covering the most at that time.
Well, it would have been the 80, 81, 82, 83 Expos. I mean,
wow.
I mean, I was there for Blue Monday when he
Oh,
hit the ball, and I'm
was
like, I thought
bad.
Dawson was going back to catch it. I love that team, and I just, les Expos knows more, But Blue Jays was more business, and they were more for like friends of mine. It's like when I was, Dougie Gilmore and I were really good buddies.
Right,
I mean, I'd be in a naked hot tub at Wendell Clark's place.
Yeah.
I mean, those days are over because all the players now are trying to protect their interest and protect their, their.
Well, can you imagine the phones? It's the phones. It's the
Oh,
phones.
you're right.
click.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I guess I lived and breathed with the Expos at that time, right?
Do you think they'll come back? Is there a chance?
Say yes.
Warren Cromartie's after it, and with the new mayor in there, boy, they had a chance to build that Labatt Park right downtown, right next to the Centre Molson or the Bell Center.
Yep.
It could take a while.
But
I would love to have them
because
back.
we have guys on every once in a while.
Yeah, we have
that,
guys. There's that hope. It's almost like that same hope that Quebec has for the Nordiques. The Jets used to have for Winnipeg before it happened. It's going to come back, right?
Right.
The Whalers and Hartford. It's going to come back eventually, won't it?
And now with Seattle getting pretty well the go-ahead from Gary Bettman, what does that do for
almost-
Quebec?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
And Houston's kind of jumped into that race too.
Yeah,
So it's like, how many NHL teams are you gonna have? 40?
I don't want to see another anything in Seattle. I don't like Seattle. I don't like Seattle. I don't like Vancouver. I don't like you.
Your bit in Vancouver about Vancouver. What do you think, you people discovered the Rockies?
Yeah, you didn't make them.
You didn't make
God did. Stop bragging about it. Annoying. Like, okay, of the fans that I can think of that are the most annoying, to me, top of the list is Vancouver Canuck fans. Canuck fans, I don't know why. Look, I know enough. Half my friends are Habs fans.
Right.
And they will start talking. It doesn't matter if we start gouging them about what's going on today. They're like, well, should we talk about the 19? And I don't know. But you know what? I get it. It's fun.
Right.
But it's not aggressive. It's there's just an ugliness about it. And I find the same thing with people who like Seattle teams.
Yeah.
I'm glad the Seahawks are taking a dump. I'm happy. I'm happy. Go home, smoke your weed, drink your coffee.
Oh, my God. I was at a Vancouver Canuck. Jake Edwards took me to a Vancouver Canuck game. Brother Jake. And I go there, the VIP entrance, and everyone's smoking doobs, man. Everyone's like, what the hell's like, just crazy. And I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching my beloved Habs beat the Canucks last night, 7-5.
Yeah,
My
big
goodness.
time win.
Oh, yeah, nice.
They don't usually
nice.
score that many goals.
No, I know. When Carey Price lets in 5 goals, Thomas Vanek gets a hat trick.
Yeah.
He was with the Habs for a little blip in his career.
Thomas Vanek, is he still playing?
Yeah,
He is.
Thomas
He
Vanek.
played last
But
night.
yeah, people, you're right. People, when I go, you know what, I had to go to Stanley Cup parades as a kid in 65, 66, 68, 69, 71, 73, 76. Shut up. We'd go. We were so cocky. Hey, Johnny, you going to the Stanley Cup parade? I'm like, I'll go next year. There'll be one next year. And there was.
Now, when you work at City Much Music, when Much Music to me was equivalent to MTV. It was now,
In the early days, right.
Yeah, in the early days it certainly was, and you had Dan Gallagher, who was
No relation, but
awesome.
rest in peace. Yeah.
Like what a tremendous fun. He was the rock and roll John Candy kind of. I mean, that's how I always saw him.
Oh, and Monica Diol and J.D. Roberts.
Yeah.
And,
Like those are crazy times in there too. And Erica M would have been there
M.
too. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Steve Anthony.
But see, people don't understand. They see him now on the breakfast television. I remember when I first heard him doing afternoons at Q. He was doing afternoon drive, and I think he'd come from out east. Did he not come out from?
He's from Montreal. Yeah.
Okay, so he gets there and I think, well, finally someone good.
Wow.
He was really good on the air.
He had,
really good. I don't think people realize how good he was.
Yeah, and I lived with the guy, and he would tape everything. He would. The Letterman and all the late night comics, and his intro was like 10 or 12 minutes long.
Yeah, I miss that.
But
I miss that.
He'd come in really early, and with the the little grease pencil and edit everything together with these little bits and drops, and he worked hard.
And it showed because he was really talented.
And he was the
really
boy in the
good.
box.
Yeah.
Corey Hart named the song
That's
Boy
who
in
it
the
is?
Box after Steve Anthony.
Just the boy in the box. That's him?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Steve was on the air at Show'em, and he called himself the boy in the box, and Corey Hart and him get to be pretty good buddies. But Steve's a legend.
But you also had, so at that time, you mentioned Monica Diol. Didn't she go on? She's gone on to be some big entrepreneur or something.
She married big. Yeah, I just saw her a little while ago. She married a millionaire out in Vancouver.
But she looked great. That was sex
That was
to
a
me.
great
Just
sex.
watching that, I was like, oh, man.
And, in the book, and Moses, Moses Nami would surround himself with beautiful women because they all wanted to be on the air.
Yeah.
Either you're a copywriter, a floor director, and makeup, a receptionist. They were all beautiful. And I dated more than a couple of women at that station.
A couple, you say, John. Yeah, he winked at me. Yeah, I know.
I love that
I know the
story
wink.
about the wink. I forgot about that. We, you and I hit the town a couple of times.
Yeah, we did.
Oh boy,
Yeah, we
with
did.
Jerry
Yeah.
Forbes. That was
Oh,
another.
Forbes. Yeah, he'll be watching that. Shout out to Uncle Jer. Yeah,
Uncle Jer?
He's going to retire in March.
Come on.
Yeah, and still crushing it out in Calgary like he has. See, no one in the day where he understands, so he goes out there, he crushes on the air, and then he does all this charity stuff too on the side. He's probably the finest radio guy that I know. I don't know if anyone knows more about radio than Jerry Forbes, but I've been kind of lucky. You know, I think of along the way people ask, like, I'm sure that you talk about some of those things but working with John Derringer. Working with John, because there is a similarity in some of the ways that we do think, which is a little frightening. So
you think
that's why the three of us, he said, if we had gone on the fan at that time and they really didn't know what they were doing, can you? I think we'd still be on there now.
I think we'd still be on the air. John Derringer, Mike Richards, John Gallagher. That is just stupid.
Yeah, and they could have done it.
Yeah, but you make me. We'd sit around and you do the Werner Kempler impersonations, the Jerry Howarth, Hello, friends, Jerry Howarth.
He was on earlier on too, by the way.
Oh, I bet he was.
Yeah. Talking about Derek Jeter's girlfriends.
You would make me cry. I would absolutely cry, and you'd give me all the little tapes and all the CDs.
You still have cassette tapes of parody songs. I can't believe it. Jerry Howard sings.
Bob Cole. Bob's in the book.
Yeah.
Bob Cole tried to pick up my girlfriend. At a bar, and
really?
Yeah, I'm at I'm with Steve Stavros in his wonderful underground lair, and I'm drinking with Pat Quinn, and Quinn's got hands the size of Yogi Berra's cat, right?
Yeah.
And he always calls me Little Irish, and I go Big Irish. Yeah. So I see Bob Cole talking to my girlfriend, and he, she doesn't give him his number. He tracks her down and calls her, and I'm living with this woman at the time, right? And we play him at Christmas parties. Oh, baby, Bob Cole here. Martha, it's. You want to go out to dinner tonight there at Biff's, right? And people thought it was you doing Bob Cole. But Bob tracked her down and would call her at work, asking her out, and I was living with this woman.
He's 100.
I know.
So he didn't get anywhere there. And then this trick I like to do with bananas.
I saw Catherine Humphreys on the other day, or during that time, and she was talking. Oh, about Bob Cole, you got to watch out for him. And I knew that he hit on Catherine Humphreys.
That's a new. Yeah, that's a new right there. We love Bob, but
we love Bob.
Yeah,
and he's the gold standard. But
because I still miss the voice.
Get your own girl. Get your own chick, man.
Who do you like play-by-play wise? I mean, you've known half of them. North or south of the border, you hear a voice in your head. It could be Gallivan. Oh, who's the voice for you in your head?
It's definitely a Dick and Danny show. Yeah. Because there's some of these nameless, faceless people on the sports channels now. I don't know who these people are.
It's true.
It's. I mean, see, we had the chance, or at least when I talked to Don Whitman before he passed away. Right. Don Whitman was, to me, one of my all-time favorites.
Sure.
Did you ever get to know, before he passed, Don Chevrier? Did you know Chevy?
Don Chevrier and I got whacked one night in Miami at the Super Bowl. And for some reason, Bob Hope was apparently in town. And Don Chevrier, I didn't know he drank. We're in a cab, and he'd be sticking his head out. Have you seen Bob Hope anywhere? Just the strangest thing.
He is hysterical. No one knew it because you'd never think it would come from him.
Absolutely right. I had no idea he had that side. Don Chevrier. That was, and again, you meet guys like Dave Van Horn. It was like a little disappointing, but Howard Cosell. I'm interviewing Howard Cosell, and I said, Howard, I understand that you're coming up in a new. This is pretty dated. A new episode of Moonstruck. He says, of course I am, young man. I said, can you embellish on that? Embellish on that, young man. I've no time to. And he's like, oh. And then I'm sorry, I was a little hard on you. My microphone's going. And he had the worst breath of any human being I've ever smelled in my life.
Howard did.
Howard Cosell, the worst breath. It was like a 2-week-old tuna salad sandwich with a cigar put out in it, right?
Oh, boy.
Maybe that was making my microphone going. Embellish on that. Hello again, everyone. Howard Cosell.
Yeah, there's been some beauties in this town.
Chris Berman and I, we
so
spent a night together. He's in the book too at the Molson Box at a Leaf Kings playoff game. He's a great guy.
And he's real kind to Canada.
He's like 6'6".
That's right. They don't call him a boomer for nothing.
And he's kind to Canada. He talks about the CFL all the time. He always knows what's going on up here. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, the ESPN actually. I think they ran. They would run the Grey Cup on a regular.
Oh, they
basis.
did a couple of times in the 80s. They did. You catch
And then when the NFL went on strike, they would show the Rough Riders versus the Rough Riders.
We showed one of those games, and it just and unfortunately they were just disasters. They were all blowouts. They were just terrible.
Yeah.
And of course, they have to describe the field and think, well, you see the field's like Alaska. Like they just now there's a lot of guys out there, and they all seem to be running around at the same time.
I think Bob Costas said, ladies and gentlemen, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will never be America's team. I can trust. Costas was another great guy. Him and I spent a couple of nights together in Florida. What a pro. Just like real quick. And I think he probably is the greatest sportscaster of our generation.
Costas, you would put him in that category. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And a great guy too.
Done everything too.
Yeah.
Any kind of sport he's done.
Including not stink eye, but pink eye at the Olympics.
That's
Talk
right.
about bad timing.
That's right.
Did it take him off the air?
Yeah, and how do you get pink eye?
I've
do you
had
get
it. Just don't rub it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Do you think that's helpful in this conversation? John Gallagher's had it. Anybody else?
How do you get it?
I don't want to know. Probably touching all those CDs on your kitchen table that have been there since 1997.
You know who went through my CDs one night?
Oh God, who?
Kevin Spacey.
Uh-oh.
We're at a party.
Okay, this just took a real different turn.
They cut it out of the book, so it's not in the book. Maybe I should say it's in the book just to sell a couple of copies.
You can't take that out of the book.
I know that I had to cut it down. So, of all the timing and a picture with them too. It was a tiff. The bars were closing, and I said, there's always the bar's always open at the Chateau de Chardonnay.
Yeah,
so he gets his entourage and comes up. He was a complete gentleman, great guy. But he was trying to go through my CDs looking for Bobby Darin because he just finished
he just played the movie.
Yeah, Beyond the Sea.
John.
Just great.
Yeah.
I'm just a huge fan of the guy, and he was again a complete gentleman.
See, this book.
He didn't pick me up and try to take me upstairs.
No.
Russell. Young Russell's going, I remember that. Big League Babylon. So once again, if you're looking for the book, I would suggest going to what they call the internet first.
The World Wide Web?
Yes, because you better check it out because most of those books in that area, I know I tried it last night and they were nowhere to be found. You can order them. So if you go to Indigo, Chapters, where it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere.
Dundurn.ca.
Yeah, so you can go direct online, like a lot of you people.
So you like the book?
Well, I would love to see the book, but I just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I can't get it.
You don't have a copy yet?
No.
For God's sake.
No, I was going to go and buy one, but it's impossible. This is what I'm saying.
We've been looking. We're not joking.
No, you can't find it. You can't find them. It's sold out. Is there crack in there? Like, what is it? Why are these books sold
Damn
out?
it, John! I found out you were coming on Monday. Okay?
And a free case
Get
of
off my back.
A free case of Brador.
Brador. And a Colt, the little cigar. Tomorrow's taste today.
Find it. Johnson, thanks so much for coming
What a
in.
nice surprise.
This is
very
Christmas.
festive.
This is Christmas for me. This is honestly, we've been wanting to do this for a while, so we can make this. Make this a regular thing, maybe.
I was going to say,
can we do that?
Hey, in my mind,
why don't we do that?
I'm already there.
Yeah. All right. So here comes the big ending. Are you ready for this? Here we go. Here we go. Here we are.
Earphones are even louder than what you just heard.
This sounds been shit today too, I bet. Russell, could you do something for Christ's sakes?
Continued success of the show. I fell off my chair listening to it. It's so good.
Big thanks to John Gallagher once again. If you want to find that book, I'm not kidding. This is not shtick, as they like to call it. You gotta find where that book is. It's gonna be worth it. I can hardly wait to read that thing, and I'll get that signed at Chateau Chardonnay.
You're invited anytime.
Yeah, so we're going there, then Safari, and where we drink for free and never pay. Danny Ferracuti. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last show of the season. We have lots of gambling. We have
Phil Gray, Senior Lines Manager, and Mark Zucchino.
And Ted Nesbitt from Blade Tape. He's got some goodies.
Oh, does he?
Ted the Viking.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds real.
Anything for me?
Well, it's free, so yes.
Yes.